Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay,
As ready as I'll ever be. Boom.
made it. Welcome to Shift Hit the Fan.
Welcome, people.
Welcome, our shifties.
You shift heads. Oh, no, that's not good. Just trying stuff
Yeah,
out here.
sure, we could come up with a whole bunch of names for people.
Yeah. We're going to help you shift your pants. Oh. Oh, oh well.
Got a little moon hanging down there.
I'm Avra.
Elias,
Yeah.
however you want to say it.
Yeah,
People like
welcome.
to call it all sorts of different things. All my Latino friends, even though somebody who wasn't Latino said Elias recently.
Oh, really?
Anyways,
Oh.
no, they were Latino. Never mind.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Anywho,
All right, we're speaking about energy medicine.
yeah.
And what is it? What is it all about? What do we do with it?
Where
You
do
are
we
probably
put
a little
it?
bit more,
Oh,
where do we put it? You're probably more of an expert of energy medicine than I am, as far as like the different modalities and at least the variety. Um, I know you've done a lot of energy medicine on yourself, and we talked about that. We talked about that in the first podcast.
I think we talked about it on well, when I introduced myself, and what I do. I did mention it in the one that I only shared bits on, um, where we had other people with us. So I don't think we've actually talked about it on one of these, when it's just me and you. So maybe it's a
Yeah,
good
that
time.
was the one where we had a nice little excerpt where Tanai and I went back and forth about uh punching and whipping people.
Yeah. And whether or not we should do it
Yeah,
randomly.
I appreciated that thought though.
Yeah. That was fun. That was a fun conversation. Like I
Yep.
said, I would love to have more people on for this, but we can just share our own views at this point, I guess. What was the question? Uh,
Yeah.
like,
I think just like let's just start with like what is energy medicine? I mean, we've got other friends and like Selma would be a great person to bring on. But yeah, what's energy medicine? How would you describe that?
um, everything is energy. You are the medicine. You're what shapes how it is focused, methinks. I was actually just thinking about this last night before I went to bed. I was like, "Oh, I got a clear conversation right here. I'm so sharp," because I had spent all day working on Brian, and right now Brian is failing me on this. Recall, recall,
No, it's
Brian.
telling you exactly what you need to know.
It's like, don't
Um,
spill everything. This is
I really like
sacred.
what you said though. I like what you said with the you are the medicine. And it brings me back to this thought that we've had a lot where or the I've heard a lot where as a healer you don't heal people. Um, but you are a source for someone to come into their own healing. And even doctors will say that they don't heal people, um, that they help the I guess you could say fix, but they help the root cause and then people heal themselves. So they're hopefully creating the environment um, that is conducive to the healing itself. And a lot of times for them, that's the allopathic, extract the thing, cut it out, make it stop, that type of stuff. Um, and I think in our eyes, I think you and I would agree on this. The thing itself, the symptom, is the medicine itself. Um, and I think you could see this a lot with homeopathic medicine, um, where if you have a symptom, you give more of that symptom through the plant that is associated with that symptom, and then the body gets signaled to start healing itself.
It sounds like fighting fire with fire,
Yeah,
but it's not necessarily. Well, with the essence of fire, with the other end of fire, I guess. I think sort of like everything is two things, wealth is poverty, um, wellness is sickness, all that. Um, so it's like fire is earth, and vice versa, you know, going back to the emerald tablet,
yeah,
getting earth out of fire. But yeah, for me, one of the ways that I look at it is, um, or the way that I was taught in one of the modalities, at least, is that, and why I call myself a resonant physician, is that I resonate at the highest um, frequency that I can, or the energy that I can, so that the person has something to entrain with. And I don't need to be well to do that. I just need to resonate energetically, um, at the highest vibration that I can. Uh, it's sort of a reminder to the other body next to you that even if it's not physically next to you, you can position yourself mentally there, anywhere. There's no distance between us. Um, you resonate, to have something to entrain to. I don't remember if I just missed the point that I was trying to get to, and I just repeated something I already said. But um, yeah, yep, that's what I was thinking.
yeah. And I think it's similar. Like this morning, I was just doing some energy work remotely, and and it was interesting to just like feel into her body and feel the different things going on. Like you're saying, like it's resonating. Like there's no distance between you and the person. Um, and I'm sure we could get into like the physics of that, which would be really fun.
Mhm.
Um, and how folding space and anyways. Um, but it was interesting because as I was holding her body and like sitting with her body, I had these feelings of I want to fix this thing, or how can I, you have this pain in your back and it's coming from your hip, and it's, the pain is in the right side of your back, the tension's there, but it's coming from actual tension in your left hip and up through the top of your thigh, and my mind's like I want to fix that. But then I had to remember going back to that holding space conversation we just had of it's not I don't need to fix anything. The body is just saying, hey, here's the communication. I just need somebody to listen to me.
Mhm.
And I need someone to hear the voice that's coming out of me, that pain, that sensation that's happening. Like our body's just communicating what it needs to communicate.
Mhm. That reminds me of one of the methods that I am sort of self-taught in, just from reading the book. My understanding of it is that the pain is usually not like where people experience the thing is usually not where the problem is. So that's the purpose of being able to tune into the body and actually listen to what it's saying because it's telling the story somewhere else in the body um, of why it's stored this thing wherever it did. Um, and I had this experience one time. This is before I was even, it was way too woo-woo for me. So I didn't, it took me probably 10 years to process what had happened. I used to have this excruciating pain on my shoulder from my car accident that I survived when I was 16. And it would just happen at random times. For me, there was no rhyme or reason to why it was happening, when it was happening. It would just suddenly grab me, and I'd be like, oh, you know. And I was doing a program, and one of my classmates sees me, comes over to me, and she's got one hand behind my back, the other one on my shoulder. She's like, what's going on? I said, well, I get this pain, ever since I was 16 and I was 30, uh, probably 31 at the time. And she says, it's not, the pain isn't in your shoulder, it's in your hip. And it's from a time from another life where when you killed somebody. And this is like too much for my brain to. I was like, okay, whatever. But ever since that day, never again did I have the pain.
Huh.
And I didn't realize that. I was so thrown off by the comment that I just was like, okay. So my mind went somewhere else, never came back. And it wasn't until Soma, uh when I moved back home from Vegas to California. And I was dealing uh, with another head injury, with the one that had me start blacking out and all this stuff. And even though I had done some physical, like I went to a chiropractor who adjusted my atlas, uh, which stopped the seizures, it stopped all this stuff. It started helping me remember things little by little. Like I could start remembering names and faces and all this stuff. But I was still dealing with headaches sometimes. And just being in this room, um, I don't know what if it was something about being home or something really triggered it. I was brought into a healing circle, which I thought was ridiculous because I'm not a healer. I'm like, I don't know why. I guess I've been praying for whatever, uh, uh, for something to shift so that I could heal my brain. And so in this healing circle, I'm saying, I'm communicating. I'm not going to be there tonight. I've got this headache. I'm probably going to go to the hospital. And she says, this is like the perfect time for you to come. But
This is the place. This is the hospital.
this is it. But, I'm still not woo-woo enough. Um, So I just, go to bed. I'm dealing with the pain. My face is swelling. One of my eyes is, going shut. This is like the worst pain I've had with the headache. And at the time of the call that I didn't go to because I just didn't want to bring in whatever mess I had going on, just like the people that think that they're going to contribute their crappy energy to a call and all that. I feel that whenever they do that, I'm like, no, no, come, bring it. Because I get it now, but I didn't bring it. They included me in the call as if I was there. And that night was the first night that in years that I had slept through the night. Um, and woke up not feeling like I was hit by a bus because I accidentally fell asleep because I had sleep apnea at the time. And um, that's the moment where I thought, okay, maybe there's something to this energy stuff. Um, and I had my godmother right after that ask me to go into business with her. She wanted to open a center out here in LA. And she wanted me to do energy with work with her. That's how I got into quantum touch healing. I took just the first course, and because at the time I didn't have a job yet, or maybe I did. I think I got a job like 3 days into moving here. Um, and yeah, after that, um, just the experience of being in that first class, I was like, okay, that's it. I think there's something to this. I'm starting to experience stuff that I never thought I would be able to do, even though since childhood I've had experiences like this, right? That's when I start, remembering and realizing that the universe has been trying to give this to me forever. Like they were just things I knew. I knew, like in that accident that we had, where my aunt lost control of the car, starts flipping over. I just surrendered to it. And I knew that I was going to be okay. I didn't I didn't relate to that as um me having anything to do with it. It was just a knowing. I didn't intentionally do it to create a certain outcome. But that's part of what energy medicine is in the knowing. Um knowing that whatever you're putting into the space is what's going to happen. Um, and yeah, that's all Brian wants to say right now. Did you have any comments? It's like just goes
Um,
dead.
yeah, I think it's an interesting point that as you were talking about that, I was thinking about how we are constantly using energy medicine on ourselves. And I think you've said this before, like that anytime that something hurts and you're putting your arm on it, your shoulder hurts and you're putting your arm there, and it's bringing that attention and that awareness, kind of that, Reiki focuses on moving your hand to that area and working that area and giving that area the attention and the energy that it needs. Um, we're always doing that. Anytime some sort of pain, and this is how I've started seeing energy medicine a lot, is that anytime that I have a pain, it's my body saying, "Hey, hey, 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 I need attention. Give me
Mhm.
attention. I'm over here." And so that pain, your body's, probably unconsciously, your body starts sending that energy, that attention down there. Um, and so when I think about those people that helped you with your headache and with the sleep and with all these different things, they're sending their attention, their energy towards you. And it's always felt like to me that energy or attention is the real thing that is almost as if it's fought over in our life. How much do we give our attention to screens, or we give our attention to um, all these different entertainments and all these different advertisers trying to get our attention, and people at work trying to get our attention, or whatever it might be. Um, our real gift in life is the attention that we give. And I think that's really what I see
Mhm.
energy medicine as is, can I listen? Can I create and hold that space for something to exist exactly the way it needs to.
Mhm.
And so I think that that story that you told just really highlights a lot of that of they saw that opportunity to hold that space for the medicine that your body's already producing to do its thing and to almost quicken it, because now you have that energy, you have that flow, that movement coming into those areas that are saying, hey, I'm having pain. And then the body doesn't have to work so hard because something's given that some more momentum and some more potential to do the work that it was already trying to do.
Yeah, that does remind me, and I don't remember where I heard it. I don't know if it was Joe Vitale or some other, you know, one of those guru people who said sometimes your body just wants the unconditional attention, or maybe it was Joe Dispenza. If you just learn to just pay attention to the thing, don't add anything, don't take anything away from it, just focus on the pain, and that's enough to help it move through, which is what I've been doing a lot with my own issues. I've been focusing a lot more on Brian lately, and sometimes what happens is, it gets a little
Brian
worse.
being
My
Brian
brain,
being the brain and
yeah,
not another
this
personality.
dude.
I had a friend had a friend comment that is Brian another personality?
Oh,
No,
yeah, I gotta
it's
say it
brain
every time,
spelled
huh? We've
spelled
got new.
wrong.
It's the
No, I think
typo.
it's fun. Just keep saying Brian. It makes it more fun that way.
Yeah, I had to explain it because I made the typo again with a family group chat. And I said, Brian something, I don't remember what it was, and they're like, "Oh no, poor Brian." And I'm like, "Brian is brain, but a little mixed up." And I'm like, "It's I've made the typo so often that I figured he's just telling me his name." Um, so I'm just gonna go with it. Like, you're Brian, I got it.
There you go.
So
Totally pulled you out of there.
yeah.
Sorry.
So the focus that I've had on Brian recently, and it feels good to call him Brian, um, because it also adds the other element of like not saying I am this. It distinguishes moments that I go through versus who I am, things that I'm dealing with in the body versus me, the soul, the whatever it is that animates me. Um, but the focus on Brian has had me more foggy than normal. It's had the uh the ringing in my ears just I don't know if it was last night or a couple nights ago that it was just screaming louder than it ever has. And I'm learning to do exactly what we were talking about, just listen unconditionally. Not trying to listen for any specific thing, not trying to listen for messages, just letting Brian communicate and scream and go through whatever he needs to go through to be able to heal. And sometimes it does get worse before it gets better. Um, Learning to just be with whatever's there so that Brian has it's 11:11 on May 1st. Has the opportunity to just be heard and be held. Just it's all going to be tying back to holding space. Um, because that's basically what it is when you're resonating at a frequency so that the other body has something to entrain to. You're holding that space for them. And it helps to think of uh the someone you love, so that you're resonating at a frequency of love. Think of, you know, so that you're not involved in the process of whatever their body needs to do. I find that it's good to think of my own things and just resonate. I think of my puppy, I think of my niece, um, and that helps. And you get to a point, I think, at least this happens for me, where I will actually have dreams of me healing somebody, and then I find out, within a couple of days that they were sick or whatever. And ever since that day, they started feeling better. Like this happened when my sister got COVID, right? I had a dream of her being at the house, and she knew she had something that she had to go and deal with something. I think it was just some head rolling in her purse, into her purse. And she's like, oh, and then her family realizes that, man, this is our problem too. We got to go. And I just set them all up, into these like healing chairs. And I realized that because I'm not that involved in it and I know that there's something to do, um, I have like the best results because I'm not in the way of it, right? I just set it up. Um, in a way that I know is going to heal them. And she's like, today was the first day that I felt like I wasn't dying. So, after that, I was like, I do my best work when I'm asleep. Oh.
I think something that I liked that you said in there was, so something that I liked was that you said that you just listen. You don't add, in my words, you said you don't add meaning to it.
Mhm,
You're not really looking for some sort of message. You're not really doing any of this extra stuff.
mhm,
And, my trainer has really put emphasis on that of stop adding meaning to things. The meaning and the purpose is almost what causes the suffering sometimes in our lives. We give such attention to this meaning or to this purpose that we have, and then that meaning and purpose becomes structured. It becomes um, almost tensious. Like it becomes this point of tension or this point of weakness almost because it's so rigid. It becomes fragile and it starts to deteriorate almost parts of our body. Um, and so when you just listen and say, all right, just speak your truth, it kind of gives that space of just saying, all right, work yourself out and get the things, work the energy that you're trying to work out, whatever this energy that is pushing you to be this way, just let it release. But I think there's also something that I've experienced that made me, and I still have to probably play with this a little bit more, but like when I do my stick massage or um whenever I'm just reading someone, telling, like, listening to the body, I think is a really helpful thing. But kind of what my trainer has seen too is like he will, because he was a biodynamic craniosacral therapy practitioner for a while, for 4 years. And then he kept getting these impulses of like, I feel like I should do this, but no, I'm supposed to just be listening. And that's how he got into the stick therapy. Is like he experienced stick therapy and suddenly he was changing his life in a lot of different ways. And he's like, oh, okay, maybe I need to listen. And maybe the listening's asking me to do something else too. Um, and so something that I found whenever I'm practicing this stick work and I'm listening to the body, sometimes giving meaning to something, or at least telling someone their own meaning that they've had in their life, like just hearing that almost breaks down their system too.
mhm,
And things that they've hidden from themselves for such a long time, because I know I will get stuck in that system whenever I'm doing my own healing, in my own meditations, is that there are places that I don't want to go to in my mind. Like there are shadows in my mind that I don't want to touch. Like it's not something that is pleasant, and so I don't go there.
mhm,
Um, not for like not really a purposeful thing, but they've just been hidden from me. And despite my efforts, my mind is like, no, no, I don't want to go there.
Mhm.
And it'll just divert, the squirrel brain.
Mhm.
Uh, but having someone say those thoughts or say those things to me, or having said those to other people, sometimes really breaks down the system to just say, here's your truth. This is what's been happening. Um, and I think there's something beautiful about that.
Mhm. That's exactly why I've been just letting myself talk about my symptoms and talk about like what people say not to do. If you don't want to create, something, stop telling the story about it. But when that's what happens when you're doing it unconsciously. When you catch it and intentionally, which is what I've been doing, is intentionally letting myself make the complaints so that I could hear them. Oh, look at me. I have got
Got some fireworks shows.
I got some fireworks. I
The
must have said
show has
something
started.
great. Celebrating my words. Um, being spot on. Yeah. So it's gonna make me more aware of my hand, talking with my hands. Um, but I'm just moving energy.
Yeah.
Um,
And it
yeah.
listened.
But that's the purpose for me is to just be able to hear it. Now that I'm aware that I do this, I want to hear what I'm saying, and I'm going to say it to people. I'm going to let myself be fully in it so that I can feel the emotion and 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 know where it's impacting me, because that is the medicine, and not adding to it, not trying to change it, not trying to, make it go away. I'm letting it be, letting it exist until, when I don't add the significance to it is because when I'm doing it unconsciously, that's the distinction, is I feel the significance of it and it keeps perpetuating it. But if I'm not adding the meaning to it, it just fizzles out on its own.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's perfectly said. Um,
And I think to some of the experiences I've had too, like some of the things that you've said on our Discord or something, it comes out kind of ugly, you know. And I think I've felt that kind of shying away, and I've definitely felt it from others.
mhm,
Um, but I really love how you've just said yeah, this is going to be ugly, and this is what I'm saying, and this is what is inside of me, and this is what is the truth that needs to be told.
mhm,
And I've done some of that recently, and it's come out really ugly for other people. And it's like,
mhm,
I told you that what was inside my brain wasn't that great,
mhm.
and now here we are.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I think there's something to be said about the shadows that are in our mind are ugly sometimes.
Mhm,
They're deep and scary, and there's a reason we hide those away so that no one else has to hear them, so that we don't even have to hear them or see them ourselves. Um, but when we bring those out and we stop having fear about what other people will think or what's going to happen, what we're going to lose by saying this truth, by bringing this truth to the light, we gain so much more. And I think there's something to be said about when you have nothing to lose, there's only things to gain. Like the
mhm,
entire world is yours. And I don't even think it has to do with like possessions. Like if that's where your mind is, then you got some work to do. But if you lost all of your possessions and you lost all of your reputation, you lost everything, everything is possible. Anything is possible. And I think that's the exciting thing about when you really start breaking down the system that's all around you, all the structures that you've built up throughout your life. It's suddenly, oh, wow, there's potential. There are things that I can work with.
It reminds me of a couple of things. The Tao um, was the first thing that came to mind, or maybe the second thing, and that's why it's more fresh. Um, it's like when you're not afraid of death, when you're not afraid of the, and I don't remember like the exact wording of it, but when you know that um, nothing um, can really kill you or whatever it is, the world cannot overcome you. Um, and I wish I had the right quote because it's really powerful. Um, and now I don't remember the second thing, but um,
I wanted to add something to that of like, it reminds me of Christ, how he descended below them all so that he could rise above everything.
hmm, that you reminded me now. It reminded me of my Twitchy trip that I took with Ilian, Twitchy Witch. I decided to, it's an hour-long conversation, and I decided um, to focus on my dreams because suddenly I'm having all these animals in my dreams, and I can understand sort of how to make sense of when people show up and what they represent. But I didn't know what to do with animals. And when I asked her, to translate, something or to read an animal in my dreams, it was nothing of what I would have found online. Like none of it led to whatever she came up with. So I'm like, I'm curious about what she thinks of all these animals. Like I've got this whole, petting zoo in my dreams suddenly. And um and what she said to me was, you run dark, basically, because I'm willing to go so deep, so dark, um, and have it not like phase me much. I'm just willing to go there. That my dreams are going to be a little bit more vivid and intense than a lot of people. Um, and I think that is because, and that's why, medicine has been, or energy medicine has been trying to reach me all along, is because I'm willing to go. I'm unfazed by so much. I was thinking of how people react when I do say certain things. They're like, oh my God, you're being so hard on yourself. And to me, it's nothing. It's like, it's just a thing that I said. And I've had to learn, how to frame my speaking so that I'm responsible for how it's landing because it is having an effect. People do personalize things. They have like sympathy or empathy for you. They feel things and all this stuff. So now I have to communicate like, which I'm glad I did into the spaces like it's gonna get dark, it's gonna get ugly, it's momentary, let it be, just hold it, just and that's why I did put that into the space is because I've been just saying all this stuff like it's empty and meaningless, and people have been left with the impact of what of like my words and the heaviness. And I'm just like thinking I have somebody like a sounding board, I'm just going to process these thoughts with you just so that they no longer have a hold on me, but they're left with like, oh my God, that's
Yeah,
insane,
they picked it.
bro.
They picked it up.
Yeah. Like, no, that's not my intention. So I do want to be responsible, but being responsible is actually helping them learn to be able to hold their own darkness and heaviness. And I'm glad that I was, that it was the pattern app that got me to actually say something. because that was the recommendation for the day is to communicate, um, about, to be in communication basically. I don't remember exactly the wording of it, but I was like, all right, I do gotta, I do gotta do this. Because it was what I was starting to do now is like, okay, well, I'm just gonna have to process this by myself. And I'm just gonna have to go into my own depth and just shut everybody out. And now I can't trust anybody to hold space for me and all this stuff. And that's not something I want to do. I want to, um, because then I'm creating myself as unsafe in that, judge not lest you be judged by the same measure, right? So I didn't want to have that. Yeah, in the space. Um, I did want to be responsible, and and I'm like thinking it, listening to myself, like I'm doing this um so often without feeling like Brian's there to help me process through it. And sometimes I think that's helpful. I think um Brian serves the purpose of like when I don't have thoughts, he's like the autopilot, right? And I know my autopilot, I've trained it so well, to function so well. I am super high functioning when Brian's not there. But um well, when Brian takes over, I mean. But when Brian's not there and it's sort of the mind, there's also this other level of functioning. Um like because when Brian's functioning on his own, I don't remember what I've done. Um it's like I black out and suddenly I've dropped kids off to school and work and and I'm suddenly at home trying to figure out where the kids were. Why is there an empty house? Um, it's almost like I'm not needed, and I just have this trust in Brian. Brian's gonna take care of people and things. But when it's just the mind, there's this other, like being able to process stuff on a different plane. So it's kind of awesome to be able to function in these two modes and still trust that things are going to be taken care of, the right things are going to be said, even if it's messy. It's all serving a purpose. It's all medicine. It's all part of the plan. And sometimes I just got to get out of the way. And Brian's figured out a way for me to get out of the way because, like I
Yeah.
said, it took me so long to be open to energy medicine. And the only reason is Bruce Lee. Because because I thought, what if I'm his reincarnation? Because look at these insane reflexes that I've had since I was a kid. The earliest memory my parents have is of me like have being, special, having something, you know, that's different about me. It's like I'm 3 months old, hanging off the side of the bed, pillows underneath me. I'm so quiet, I'm not crying or anything. I'm just looking down at the pillows like if I'm, ready to, to fall or whatever. And they said that they've found me so many times that way, just hanging off the edge of the bed, just being independent. It's probably why I got so much freedom as a kid. Um, and why people just trusted me, like, um, is because they saw signs of I'm gonna be okay. Um, and they would have to go and check on me. That's the only reason is because I was so quiet and I would sleep so deeply and for forever that they would have to wake me up to feed me, and to make sure I was still alive, because I'd be out for so long, and or I'd just be quiet and be hanging off the bed, uh, and um, things like that start making sense over time, like uh putting together the pieces, like my obsession with Bruce Lee and wanting to be like him and wanting uh to master my mind the way that he was so that I could, start playing with energy and moving energy. And I would create like energy balls and juggle them, and I would feel them land in my hands and all this, and I would know exactly where it was when I threw it up, um and so I would be doing like things like that, and I still um but that's what opened me up to the possibility of maybe energy. I was using it to destroy my enemies, not to heal anybody. So I was still kind of resistant to it. But that was my point, is like how long it took me to open up to energy, even though it was so in my life. Um, and like my mind was already conditioned to it, ready for it, automatically, naturally going there. Which is what Reiki, teaches, is that we know these things instinctually. Like a mom kissing her baby, that's Reiki. When they've got a boo boo or whatever, and it helps. I have pictures of my nephew doing Reiki on his knee because he felt. He comes over with this, swollen knee. He fell. Um, it's scraped, swollen. He couldn't stand on it. By the end of the night, I was doing Reiki on him. He put his little hands around it as well, around his knee as well. And within a couple of hours, he was walking like nothing ever happened. There was no swelling or anything left. And he experienced the magic. He's like 3 years old. And, so he just starts focusing, he knows. It's like, because we come in knowing this stuff. Um, and and then we get it either beat out of us or talked out of us, and but yeah, we come in naturally doing it, and everything is energy. We are the medicine, and wherever our words or ideas or our focus goes, that's where the medicine or the energy goes, and it's unconditional. It's not judging. It's like, okay, that's what you want. I give to you.
Yeah. And there's a level of trust that goes along with energy medicine, both as the healer and the person being healed. And going back to what you're saying about kids and like your body, and big thing with my girls is like, don't correct them. Don't suggest things in their mind. Like if they're climbing a tree, let them climb the tree, because their body intelligence will figure out how to climb that tree better than if they're getting yelled at by somebody to like, be
You're gonna
careful, watch your
fall.
footing,
Yeah.
you're gonna fall. Like
Hmm.
like you're
Oh,
you're
cheer them
putting
on.
that into their mind and bringing that energy in, rather than being like trusting them and giving your energy to be like, yeah, you
Hmm.
can do this. I do worry that you will fall, but
Hmm.
I trust that you can do this. And I think it's the same thing that we need to do with the symptoms that we have in our body, even the thoughts that go through our head. Trust the thoughts, trust the body, trust the symptoms, trust the pain, trust these things that are happening, that they are there for a reason, that they are synchronized exactly with what needs to happen, with the healing that needs to happen.
Hmm.
And that's really hard to do, especially with our society that says that things are wrong, or that things, this isn't the way things should be. That like whatever pop, for whatever reason, what popped in my head is that someone goes into a coma, that we have to fix that, or hold that space for them. And I don't know, my mind just is curious, what would happen if you let them actually just sleep and be in that space. And I don't know, I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not going into that space, but that was just the thought that popped into my head earlier. But like everything, ever since I was 18, I have not really seen a doctor for any of the things that I've done. um Even when I dislocated my knee, and I did go to the doctor for that. That was when I was 18. That was the last time I went to the doctor for anything real. Um, my stepmom was trying to give me all these like inflammation reducers and all these things. I'm like, no, no, that's not that's not going to help me. I need to let my body do its thing. Um, and that's I think the more we trust life and let go of everything around us, the more healing will happen. And it's like in a detachment, but it's not really a detachment, and it's not really fully letting go. It's like this neutral space where you hold space for everything, but you're only holding the space. You're not restricting the space or holding on to the space. You're letting everything just happen the way that it's designed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And and I think that's where a real healing comes in, is trusting everything that happens around us.
Mm-hmm. I think of the kids, that I know. You have one set of parents who, from the time this baby was born, they just let her, um, they trust her ability to figure out, her own body. And if she falls, it's okay. If she's got this um, play, uh, like monkey bars and swings and this whole little play set in her um, in the house in front of the TV. And her favorite way to watch TV is she climbs up the stairs, she stands on the two monkey bars, and just kind of squats and is bouncing around with her little bare feet on the two bars, and she'll just stand there and watch it forever. And it's like, I don't know, maybe 4 feet off the ground. Like, it would hurt if she did fall, but they just trust her. They just know that she's going to be okay. She's gonna, and that's contributing to her. I mean, you see her sliding down the slides, no fear. Uh, she just turned 2, and she's been fearless like that. Uh, because of the trust that she's gonna be okay. She's got to find her own self. Versus the other kid who, two anxious parents, they're paranoid about everything. So this baby who's older is afraid to go, just now starting to have, to trust herself to be able to go down slides, but she has to hold on to the sides to um, to brace herself, because so that she controls the speed that she's going down the slide, while the other one just lets herself fly and lands on her back. Like, one's creating uh, a stunt woman, and the other one's creating somebody who's got to control everything, and who is anxious, and who is like, we're projecting our own fears um, onto our kids, and teaching them with our fears what to be afraid of or what to be confident in. And they already have that wiring in their cells, because you created this baby with your cells, with what you have. So when you add it and you reaffirm it in their actual life, I mean, that's how people become, or have these that is energy work. It's all, we're all doing it. um I mean, and it's no mistake how where we do contribute to what our kids end up with, and what they are going to have to work through when they're older, when they're if they have the awareness to actually start undoing their programming, what they were born with and what they were programmed with as they were growing up.
Yeah. A lot of our healing needs to come through the generations.
Yeah.
Healing the generations and healing I think there's some scripture out there in the Christian realm that says that the sins of the fathers will be passed to the children, and the children aren't responsible for those. It's the parents, that the older generations that were responsible for that. But it's not up to the parents to heal that. Like, we have to
Mhm.
heal, and a lot of that comes through the epigenetics, the conditioning, there's a whole bunch of things that flow through with that.
Yeah. I think that's why I'm willing to go so dark. Like, because I know what what energies, what my ancestors were like, what created me. Um, I know that I have a lot of stuff to break these generational traumas. So I'm willing to do it for the family, for the energy. Um, like if I don't pass the buck. Like it's me. Um, I'm the problem, it's me. So I'm the solution. I'm not gonna
There you go.
I'm not gonna leave it to anybody else. I will take responsibility for this, and I'm gonna help as many people in the family as I can to help them with work through their stuff as well.
Because you don't have kids to pass it down
Exactly.
to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to put the kibosh.
We'll wrap it
And
up.
yeah.
To
So
wrap the shift
what
up.
would you say if we had to summarize what energy medicine is? What are like our thoughts and feelings about it? How would you say
That's it. It's our thoughts and feelings about it.
it?
That's
Now go generate
exactly
your
it.
own. Go and experience it.
Yeah, it's how you hold
Don't
space.
trust us.
Yeah. It's how you trust yourself. It's how you hold space. It's what you're putting into the space, what you're focusing on. And it's you. You're the medicine, baby.
Yep.
You are it.
Listen and trust.
Hmm. Yeah. The end.
Cool.
Thanks for watching until
Thanks,
now.
Shifties.
We will see you next time. Love you madly. That's for you. All right.